Assalamualaikum guys, and hi again. Throughout the trip, I had forgotten to actually take some photos or some videos along the way because of the it was a little bit of a busy city where there wasn't enough time to just stop and take some videos and all. So I was pretty much like more maybe a little bit engrossed towards the surrounding and such that I had forgotten to. But nevertheless, I had wanted to share a little bit about this trip, like how was the experience and how was my reactions towards certain things and all. So honestly, it's actually my first time visiting, and I think I had planned this trip for it was less than 2 weeks, so it was just a thought about trying to get out of this busy city in Singapore itself. And I actually wanted to just take a break, just do a try to go out somewhere where I can have like a mini holiday. So after the end of this trip, I realized that actually I had made a wrong decision in choosing a place for this short trip. The reason is because I had wanted it to be a little bit more laid back, but it's not laid back at all. It's just as busy as it is in Singapore. So and then throughout, I think my last or the last day, I met this he's also a tourist, and then we had a small conversation, and then he shared that the city is not actually a nice place to go, and there are a lot of more opportunities to actually shop better when you go up to the northern side of Thailand. So he said that maybe Chiang Mai will be one of the best, or maybe Phaya will be one of the best. I have not heard of it, but yeah. And Bangkok was as busy as it is as Singapore. Like that, there isn't any difference. And if you want to go for a good bargain kind of like shopping, like if you want to bargain for a good price, yes, they said that you're able to. It's much more cheaper. Like definitely, it's much more cheaper, but it's a little bit more further up. Like it is in the city, and if you want to go to those kind of like bargain places and all, you should the place that you can go is actually the night market. So the night market is obviously it's at night, and then they have like different kind of areas which is not too near, not too far, but still, like if you are out, because then also like the night market, once you start going, you might probably end around midnight and such, and the BTS, or should I say the train service itself, it's not available after 11. So that is a little bit of a downside, because if you stay near the airport and then you go over to the city, to the night market, by the time it's midnight you have to take the Grab, and it's actually kind of expensive. And if you were to flag a cab, okay, one thing about a cab, sometimes they don't actually most of the time, although it says on the cab itself, it says it's actually a mirror taxi, but actually it's not, because why they would just charge you, they would just put a price to it. So let's say if I were to check on my Grab, it says 200 baht or maybe 250 baht, but they might charge you way more. Like just a few days back, I had wanted to go back to my hotel, so I was actually, I would say, around the city area, and then to go back to my hotel was around 300 baht. So I wanted to flag a cab, just to check it out. So there are a lot of taxis that will be waiting for you, because it's a tourist kind of attraction place. And then I was asking, okay, how much is it to go back to my hotel? And believe it or not, on Grab it says 300. To them it's 1,000 baht. That is a huge difference, like 700 baht difference. So when I decided to walk away, that is when they actually say okay, let's put it 500. Oh no, 400. So I was like, no, if it's 300, that's 300 baht that I want. So you understand what I mean? So you have to you have to be smart when it comes to this. You have to show them that you're actually kind of familiar with this place. You don't like like that, those kind of thing. Although it was my first time, I still try to be aware of the situation and such. Yep. And that was one of the part of the trip. So the second part of the trip is, okay, I won't say there are a lot of regrets, but you shouldn't be you shouldn't regret whenever you make a decision, right? But it was a pleasant experience after all. The people, the food, the place. Actually, the place that I stayed was incredible. Just that sometimes there might be mosquitoes at night, but yeah. Okay, okay, like for myself, when I book, okay, to be honest, right, even if you go to Agoda or you check on Trivago or you check on booking.com, they the ones, okay, when you stay nearer to the airport, what's the name of the airport? I always don't get this airport. Suvarnabhumi or Subarnabhumi, somewhere there. So this airport, actually the airports at Don Mueang and also the Suvarnabhumi airport, when you stay nearer to the airport, it's much more cheaper. It's way cheaper, and I tell you, the accommodation at Thailand itself, it's cheap. It's like per night you can get a good one, right? Like we could call it a good, like let's say a standard good one. You can get it at $20 SGD per night, which is good, right? It's a good deal. It depends on like if you want to go for like 3 stars or 4 stars and above. And honestly, it's not that expensive. It's affordable, like, especially if you travel in big groups or you travel with just 2 of you. It is definitely a saving. And then yeah, so if you stay nearer to the airport, it's way cheaper. And I would say the place is, actually the place is not that bad, because you're surrounded with like 7-Eleven and every other ATM. You can find ATM anywhere, like within 2 minutes, 3 minutes or 4, you can always find an ATM, which is very good. Just that I couldn't really see the police station, but it's okay. So 7-Eleven, it's like the one of the best business, I think, in Bangkok or in Thailand itself, because every minute you walk, you will see a 7-Eleven. Sometimes in one stretch you have 3 7-Elevens, which I don't understand why they have to have so many 7-Elevens, but still it's good. And it's usually nearer to the hotel, that it's very, nearer to the airport, that it's very cheap. And one thing that I learned was, yes, it's cheap and it's very convenient, because when the train service is very convenient. It's like as if you're going to Jurong, or you're going to Yishun, or you're going to Tampines, or you're going to Outram Park or whatsoever, because the train is very, very easy to take. You can just follow the signs, it's very clear, or you can just look at their map, it's very clear, which I like. Their train service is one of the best too, which is somehow, it reminds me of Singapore, but just that Singapore's one, it's a little bit more advanced, but still it's good. And yeah, like if I were to travel again to Thailand, I would not stay near the airport, because it's a little bit too far from the other places. Although it's accessible, it's easy, because you have like different lines that connects to the other. Like for myself, I stay at Lat Krabang, which is one station before the airport, and from Lat Krabang I would take the link to Siam. So Siam is where, the Siam Paragon is. That's the city, like Orchard. So I would like go to Orchard, and then from that Orchard I can go anywhere else. It's less than 15 minutes. Yes, it's good, but still, I don't know, maybe next time I would go to somewhere which is nearer to the city, like Pratunam. So I didn't manage to go to Pratuna Market, because it was a little bit too far, and I kind of like covered more on the east side. I would say that Lat Krabang is maybe Bedok. Yeah, Bedok, going to the Changi airport. Yes, so that is one of it. Okay, so that the first one I talk about was the environment itself, the city itself. Second would be the accommodation, the transportation, right, like what I mentioned. Okay, now about food. Like for myself, obviously I would go for the halal food, right? So halal food is, I don't know if I want to say it was difficult on the first day. If I remembered, on 2 days, right, both days, I only ate like once, because why? It was a little bit too it was not easy to find halal food. Halal food, you can find it, but it's usually in the city. Like if you want to have the most halal food, it will be MBK Centre. That is one of the shopping centre, which is like Somerset or Orchard. So that is one of it. Because if you want to find halal food like near your hotel, it's not that easy. But just yesterday, oh my goodness, yesterday, because I stayed at Lak Rabang, and it's very funny where I actually I actually always search for like things to do with near Bangkok city or whatsoever, but I didn't search about Lak Rabang itself. So Lak Rabang is actually a Muslim community. So I wanted to I found this place where I to have lunch. So it's like a fast food which was halal. So I went there, and then unfortunately it wrote there on Google that it's open, but actually it's closed. So when I stood there, I was like, how come there's a lot of people with shawl, and then how come there is a lot of like halal signs around? Like I tell you, it was like a bazaar. So it's like a it's like an afternoon market, which was like those kind of bazaar Ramadan that you go, you see people opening stalls, and then after that they have a lot of food. I was like, I was surprised. And then after that, I saw one of this there was this popular on TripAdvisor. It says you should go to Roti Tea. So that's one of the halal place also. So I was asking him like, how come there's a lot of like halal food? He said, oh, Lak Rabang this side, there's a lot of halal food. And trust me, I walk from like one end to the other, all halal. And I should have been there to eat. Why did I go to the city to eat? Like, and it's so cheap. Like it was only like 10 baht, 30 baht, 50 baht, which is like a few cents. And then if I go to the city, if I eat like one fried rice, right, the fried rice would cost me, the cheapest would be 129 baht. If you go to Lak Rabang, or if you, it's not as if you eat at the at the roadside. No, it's actually a stalls. They have stalls, or maybe a little bit of like coffee shops the word. So if you go to coffee shops, it will cost you around 50 baht for like one fried rice. The drinks are a little bit cheaper, like 10 baht or 30 baht. But if you go to the city, one drink will cost you around 60 baht. You understand what I mean? So it's a lot more saving. And actually, food and everything is cheap. Transportation, it depends on the area where you're going. If you're going to the city, usually it will cost you around 40 baht, which is manageable. But if you go further up, it might cost you around 65 baht or 80. And it's connected, okay? Like for example, one trip might cost me $1.70 if I go to like the city. So I can actually link. So from the city, I link over to the other. So I don't have to spend a lot, only if you take the BTS. So there's a difference with the BTS and the SkyTrain. Something like that, they have like an advanced rate that goes faster, so that would cost you another. So like I would say, if you want to go on one trip, you might have to buy the tickets twice, which is okay, 80 baht. It's cheap, so for a day. And yeah, like I would advise you, like when you go out, you take the train, because it's saving. Okay, I didn't actually see a bus. I don't know whether they have a bus there, but there was like like it looks like bus stop. But then when I asked, what actually, like why are we waiting here, what what do you, can you get a bus here? And then they would say that, oh no, this is where you actually wait for the taxi. So I actually waited there, but I didn't see any taxi, so Grab is the only option. So yeah, I would advise, if you want to go, you go on a train ride, and then at the end of the day, when you're going back to your hotel, yes, you can spend on your Grab. That's not too expensive. Yeah, it would cost you around, go for lesser than 300 but like $13 at least. So yeah, that is one of the advice, because once you end your day, you might have to carry a lot of things, so you just have to just go and take a Grab. Or like for my case, like when I'm from the city, I want to take the taxi because I was too tired with a lot of things. What I did was, from the city, I tried to go to one of the stations that's nearer to my place, like for Lak Rabang airport link. The nearest one, it will be Phaya. So I go to Phaya, and then I just wait for a Grab, or I flag a cab, and then it might cost me around 200 baht or to 250 baht. And honestly, taxi with meter is much more cheaper than Grab. And you know why? Because because through meter, right, it's a little bit slow, so it's much more cheaper because Grab is fixed. So I realized, because I took like two, and then I tried to take the taxi. However, I booked from Grab, they will have an additional of 30 baht, which is still saving. Like, I check on Grab this morning to the airport, just Grab, right, to the airport, it would cost me around 272 baht. But when I took the taxi itself from Grab and then additional 30 baht, it cost me only 140. Can you see the difference? So you have to be smart when you travel. You have to try to play with the cost, the price, because you make the decision, right? So you're able to make a choice as well. So that is one of it. And then what else? Other than that, the shop, yeah, I talk about the shopping and all. So about the places to go for the halal food, I remembered quite clearly. Maybe if I look at the pictures, I will remember where I ate. I would actually put it in the link, like where you can find or from which station. I still remember the link from one train station to the other, which I would definitely include in this upcoming video. So that is one of it. And then what else? Okay, that part, like some of you asked about the halal food, right, where to get like a little bit of like cafe and all, I would share with you. And apart from that, other than the food, the place to stay. So the place that I stayed was actually, I would consider it's cheap because it's only $22 per night, and it's like a resort. It's not much of a hotel. Like, for okay, it depends on what kind. How do you what kind of like holiday do you want? Like for myself, I don't really mind like if it's 3 star or 4 star, because I spend most of my time outside. I just come to the hotel just to sleep, to rest, and then the next day I go out again. So I wouldn't spend too much on it, and not of a luxury type, because for me, I'm more of a budget kind of traveler, because I travel solo most of the time, or sometimes I go with just a friend. So it depends on your mindset. Like for myself, like I said, I just want a place to stay just to rest, and then the next day I'm out again. I shop until the late midnight. So by the time I come back, I sleep, and the next day I wake up, I go out again. So that's not much of a fast for myself. So I will share with you the place that I stayed. It's one of the newest hotel. That's not a hotel, I would call it a resort, and it's beautiful, definitely beautiful. The price is good, the service is good, and then you pay for what you want. Like, it's clean, it's comfortable, and it's near to the airport, and it's near to the airport link to the train station. Just that but one downside is that from my place, you have to go to the train station, right? You need to take a taxi, or you can take the motorbike, but it's very cheap. It's only 80 baht, like 100 but it's 15 minutes, but you can't walk because it's at the expressway. So that was the downside, but I think it's worth, because it's only 80 baht, which is very cheap. And yeah, I will share with you the resort that I went to. It was very nice, and there are a lot of tourists there. Like, you can see it from all over the world. And then when I actually booked, I read on Agoda. Wait, I booked from Agoda. Usually I would book from Agoda. Agoda has like the best price, and if you remember, like for myself, I've been traveling on Agoda or Traveloka. You will get a lot of discounts, like a lot of discounts. Or you can book by booking. There are a lot of alternatives. And then from my flight, I will usually book from agents where, like Traveloka, because I can get cheaper than cheaper than the price on the original website itself. Like, I would go for budget airlines like AirAsia, Jetstar would be one of the best too, or Scoot. Tiger Airways is okay, but I wouldn't go for like more than 1 hour on the Tiger Airways because of the seats. Their seats are a little bit worn out, but the others are good, still good airlines. Alright, so I will catch up with you guys, and then I will update more about the trip, and also, like, you guys asked about the halal food and everything will be down below, and then I will just write everything up for you guys. And I hope you guys had a good week, and back to reality tomorrow, and I'm back to work. catch up then.